So after finishing Mob Psycho 100 seasons 1 and 2 on Netflix, I felt that it just made sense to watch season 3 too, finally finishing this masterpiece of a series. But after doing a little bit of research, a lot of people said that season 3 was too boring because of its slow pacing and its numerous episodes that were basically just filler episodes. But regardless, I watched it anyways, and after watching the first few episodes, I can see why people thought it was boring. The story didn't really seem to have a definite direction. The filler episodes felt random to me, and it was definitely not as good as the previous seasons. But then I watched the last few episodes, and after finally finishing the entire thing, I can confidently say that season 3, while it was pretty boring in the beginning, completely redeemed itself with its last few episodes, which I thought led to the most perfect ending possible to finally close the franchise with. But let me give you a brief breakdown of what made the first half of the season so boring and what made the last part of the season so fitting as an ending. Admittedly, the season started off really casual and slow, not introducing any significant conflicts or villains even in the later episodes, and it was mostly filled with either random and rather strange side quests and stories, mostly due to Reigen's clients and mob school activities. The entire first half felt unnecessary to me, like the writer simply couldn't think of anything too interesting to add to the development of the story. But let me tell you that after episode 8, the season soon took a sharp and rapid change of direction, ultimately leading to the series' end. Episode 9 was mainly about Mob finally deciding to ask out Tsubomi, his crush, to be his girlfriend. So he's just going to the park. Everything seems pretty cool and casual at first. But then there's a little boy there on the intersection without looking around him. He walks into the intersection, oblivious to the fact that a truck was hurtling towards him. Mob hadn't noticed the boy until the truck was right in front of him, and he only had a split second to react. Then all of a sudden, Mob was dead. Mob's subconscious mind took over, and Mob was no longer there. All that was left was his powers and his mind, wreaking havoc as he marched towards Tsubomi. His friends and people who knew him tried to stop him, but it was futile. But unexpectedly, one person was able to stop Mob's rampage: Reigen. Mind you, Reigen has no powers whatsoever. All he can rely on is his sheer luck and blind confidence. But he somehow managed to get through to Mob, finally revealing to him that he has no psychic power, and Mob finally comes back to normal. He then gets rejected by Tsubomi, and his life goes on from there. I thought the ending was perfect for the series because the entire series was based around Mob not being able to express his true emotions and not being able to accept who he was. But after having a conflicting argument with his own subconsciousness during his rampage, he was finally able to just fully express his emotions without having to repress them anymore, and finally could live his life as a normal person. Everyone's inner conflict was solved, and the ending gives a satisfying closure to the franchise. Mob's loneliness, Reigen's guilt for lying and taking advantage of Mob over the years, and the inner conflicts of the other characters in the story were all resolved in the end. So although the beginning and the middle parts of the season were admittedly slow and unnecessary, the final part redeemed the season, ending Mob Psycho 100 with a fitting sense of closure to the story. If you enjoyed my yapping, consider subscribing, and see you in the next.